They call Corte Madera San Diego's Half Dome, and if you look at it, you can see why. In this video, I'm going to show you how to hike up here, and I'm also going to show you how to hike to Los Pinos Mountain with a nice fire tower on it. Completely optional, but you can add that onto the hike as well. The hike is located in Cleveland National Forest, and the trailhead's only about an hour away from downtown San Diego, and we're starting about 10 miles north of the Mexican border. The hike up to Corte Madera and back, it's about 7 miles round trip as an out and back. There's about 1,600 feet of climbing, so it's a little bit hard, but not too tough. I think most people can handle this one, and you're not going to see too many people here. It's not that popular of a hike. And I'll also show you how to do an extension if you want to go up to Los Pinos Mountain as well. That'll make it about 11 miles, about 5 hours or so, and about 2,350 feet of climbing. All right, so let me just show you the hike route real quick. And just a note, you'll probably be coming in on Interstate 8, which is over here on the right side of the screen. One of the roads that you're going to take as you approach the trailhead is dirt and is potholed, but you can do it in a low clearance car. I've seen plenty of them there. When you get to the parking area, it's just a little sand lot on the side. It's nothing big or anything, but there's usually not too many people here. You should be okay, and you don't need a parking pass because there are no facilities here. You can break the hike up into 3 parts. It's sort of like 3 arms here. The first part up this orange trail is a little bit of road, and then we're on the Espinosa Trail up to this 5 points junction or 4-point junction here. It's 5 points with the fire break, which I'll show you in a second. But from here, we're going to make the right, go up Los Pinos Road for a little bit, and then hop off the road and head uphill up to Corte Madera, which is right there. When we're done there, we're just going to head back down, back to this big intersection right here. And if you want to do the Los Pinos part of the trail, all we're going to do is take the fire road, which is Los Pinos Road still, but a dirt road, all the way up to the fire tower, and then head back down to the junction, back down Espinosa to the end, and that's the whole hike. Now, this is a backcountry hike, so I recommend bringing your essentials with you. In the summertime, it can get really hot here. I don't recommend it, but other seasons, 2 or 3 liters of water should be okay. Trail runners do the trick on these trails, and trekking poles will help you go up and down on the steeper sections here. There are some sections where there's, I don't want to say overgrown, but there's some shrubs that grow into the trail. So if that bothers you, wear long sleeves and long pants. Also know that there is not a great cell phone reception, if any, back here, so I bring my satellite communicator just in case I get into trouble. If you want to see all the gear that I use, just go to HikingGuy.com/gear. I have everything up to date there, and I don't accept any sponsored or promoted gear posts, so it's all just the stuff that I actually use. And when you get to the parking lot, make sure you look up, because you're going to get a nice view of the fire tower, Los Pinos Mountain Fire Tower, where I'll show you how to go. But when you're ready to start the hike, we're just going to go down the street a little bit. You can see how steep the road is here, but we're going to go down the street, cross over, and go up the little dirt path that will take us around a gate that's locked. There is some private property at the beginning of this hike, so we're just going to go up and around it. Now, when you come up here, you're going to see an interpretive display on the left. It's all about the nesting raptors, the eagles, the hawks, the falcons that you can find here in the backcountry of San Diego. The specific ones that you'll find at Corte Madera are the peregrine falcons, which are known for going extremely fast, about 240 miles an hour in a dive. They were endangered in the 70s because of DDT, but now that DDT is gone, they are nesting once again. There's about 15 pairs here in San Diego County, and they make nests on the little cliffs here, like on Corte Madera. Now, sometimes they'll close the cliff specifically to climbers so they don't disturb the nests, but I'll put a link to that on the website. Usually, it's not something that impacts you on the hiking trails. Now, once we get past the interpretive display, the trail dips down and goes on the road. And again, this is to bypass the gate. There is some private property on the other bank of the creek. And the creek is flowing in the winter. Sometimes it's not. But you can see this beginning part is shaded. It's pleasant as we go through these old oaks up along the road here. Really nice, mellow way to start the hike out. After about a half a mile, you're going to look for a trail off to the left. This is the Espinosa Trail, which you're going to be taking. Off to the right is the road and the private property. You can see there's a trail sign rigged up on a garbage can here. Who knows if it'll be there when you're there, so just make sure you look for this little turnoff here. But the Espinosa Trail is a pretty mellow single track. It's very easy to follow, really nice and much different than the road we were just on. You can see here, not really overgrown, really in good condition considering there's probably not a whole lot of people that go up on this trail. As you're hiking, if you look up to the left, you're going to get some more great views up to the Los Pinos Mountain Fire Tower, which is right there along with the antenna farm. Unfortunately, there's antennas everywhere here. And after about a mile or so on the Espinosa Trail, it's going to dip down and get steep, and then you're going to come up to the big intersection, which will be our kind of keystone for this whole hike. And then right in front of us are the great views over to Corte Madera right there. And we're basically going to be going up on this road to the right. It's called Los Pinos Road, appropriately enough. We're going to be going up there, but it's a great place to kind of just, catch your breath, check out the mountain, get your postcard-worthy views, and then we're going to continue off to the right and go up Los Pinos Road for just a little bit before we hop off the road and take another single-track trail up to the summit of Corte Madera. So when you make the turn, I want you to look for these pine trees like the one you see behind me. This is called a cutler pine, and I'm a gringo originally from the East Coast, and when I hear the word Corte Madera, it sounds very exotic. It sounds like an old Humphrey Bogart film, The Treasure of Corte Madera. Not a real film, but you get the idea. But it's much more utilitarian. Corte Madera is the word for woodyard or cutting wood in Spanish. Los Pinos, the pines. When the Spanish came here in the 1700s and they were looking for the best lumber to build the mission in Old Town San Diego, they allegedly came here, and this is where the best lumber was. They named it Corte Madera, so it was a very kind of utilitarian name, kind of like the equivalent of Home Depot Mountain these days, something like that. But anyway, a lot of the pines are long gone. You can still see some of them. And these are interesting, these cutler pines, because you can only find them here in Southern California and in Baja, Mexico. And if they get big, they can have these really big pine cones. And this tree has a nickname of the Widowmaker. Little dramatic, but pine cone falls in your head and your wife becomes a widow. I've also heard them be called big cone pines as well. But cutler pine is the official name, so keep an eye out for them. Pretty cool tree that you can only see here in Southern California. All right, we're on Los Pinos Road. We're heading uphill a little bit through these coulter pines, and we're going to come to this big clearing. You're going to look off to the left for the single-track trail up to Corte Madera, the Corte Madera Mountain Trail. Again, there's another little raptor interpretive display, simple CM Corte Madera up there. Now, this is going to be the steepest part of the climb, and there are some sections that are steep, but again, it's not really a big mountain climb. You can see there's a little bit here where you're going to have to pull yourself up some rocks. It's not too tough. And again, this is the steepest part. The rest of it's sort of rolling with some ups and downs, but this part right here is going to be the toughest of it. And of course, when you have steep climbs, there's always a good reason to stop and turn around and admire the views, which are pretty awesome. There's Los Pinos in the distance back over there. Once you get towards the top, it sort of levels out a little bit. And there's one area that's really neat. It's one that you see all the time in Instagram shots. It's a couple of kissing boulders. And when you come to this big boulder in front of you, just hop off, walk up the granite, and you can check out these kissing boulders. We're going to get closer again, but this is the first viewpoint, a little bit farther away. Oh, man, it is so beautiful here. Every winter, I spend more and more time in Cleveland National Forest. It's really a beautiful place. In the summer, it's kind of hot. The winter, it is great. There's such biodiversity here. It actually stretches all the way from the border of Mexico up into the suburbs of Los Angeles, up until Cleveland, Ohio. No, that's not true. It's actually named after Grover Cleveland, a president. The story in a nutshell was in the late 1800s, they realized that people were cutting down a lot of lumber. It was destroying watersheds. They started an act called the Federal Forest Reserve, or the Forest Reserve Act, which protected forests. One of the first forest reserves was actually Trabuco Canyon in the northern part of Cleveland National Forest, if you're familiar with the area. Grover Cleveland added to the forest reserves here in the country, here in the West. I don't think he ever stepped foot here in what's now Cleveland National Forest, but if he did, let me know. I'd be interested to hear. Anyway, fast forward to Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt starts the Forest Service, which incorporates all of these forest reserves. He names it after Grover Cleveland's because he was a conservationist and he added to the reserve system. So this Cleveland National Forest is named after Grover Cleveland, the president, with a funny first name. And a little bit past there, we're going to get to a closer viewpoint. This is probably a better place to get your shots. There we go. There you can really see it. Beautiful, beautiful eroded boulders up here. And there's also this tree that I saw. Do you know what this is? I have no idea what this red bark is. Let me know in the comments if you know. It's kind of interesting. It was really out of place here. Not seen a lot of it on this trail. Actually, that was the only one I saw on this trail. But anyway, after the Kissing Boulders, we're going to go downhill for a little bit, which will feel strange. A little bit of a rolling approach to the summit. And there's this one little steep part here through these boulders. You're going to have to go down. Looks a little bit worse on camera than it is. But eventually, we're going to come out and see Corte Madera in front of us. We're almost there at this point. We just have a little bit more ups and downs as we go. This part is one of the downhills, which obviously you have to climb when you come back out. But again, it's not too hard. We're going to go through all of these boulders here once we cross this, I guess you'd call it a ridge over to the summit over there. And this is the part where it can get a little bit overgrown. If you're worried about getting ticks or bugs or whatever, you might want to just get some repellents, wear some long sleeves. And you'll also see some nice cleared areas where people have obviously been camping up in this area too. You can camp here. You just need a backcountry permit that you can get from the offices at the Cleveland National Forest. I'll put a link to that in the guide as well. Here you can see some of the overgrown sections as we approach the summit. That pile of granite boulders over there, that is the summit. I love this tree, this coulter pine that's growing out of a crack in the boulder at the summit. So cool. Once you get to the summit area, there's a bunch of rocks you can climb up on. You can climb to the very top ones if you want. But there's a nice viewpoint. When you come out, you just make the left here. And this is the summit area, basically. And there's not always a sign and a register, but today there was, which I appreciate. No one stole it. But a neat little sign that's been left here so you can take your summit selfie shots. And it's a great place to enjoy the views. You can walk out. Obviously, be careful because it's a little bit sheer cliff face as you go further. That's Los Pinos Mountain in front of us. That's where the fire tower is. I'll show you to get there. And if you continue on to Cate Peak, which is on the border of Mexico, and on a clear day, you can even see the peaks back in Mexico, little hills and rises. Pretty neat. And if we continue on, you can see Lions Peak. And this is an interesting one. This is a little square of Cleveland National Forest in the middle of private property. The landowner here is, the story is about him pulling out a gun on hikers and people who want to go up the road there. And if you look at the fire tower page for Lions Peak, it says it's currently limited to helicopter or law enforcement escort only, so I won't be hiking that one anytime soon. Like other summits here in Southern California, probably everywhere, there's lots of critters looking for crumbs from your backpack. But this guy needs to look out because there are plenty of hawks and eagles that will probably make a meal of him as well. What an incredible summit this is. I love it up here. I could spend all day up here, but we've got places to go. I want to show you the hike up to the fire tower at Los Pinos Mountain. So we're going to go back down the way we came, and then I'll pick it up at the big intersection by the Espinosa Trail. Now, before we head back down, I just want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the site in any which way, whether you give via PayPal, Venmo, Patreon, YouTube memberships, or use my affiliate links for Amazon or REI. I appreciate all the help. It allows me to do videos like this without ads in them, which I always feel weird about because I only want to tell you about or recommend things that I really believe in. So I don't have to do that on these guides because of your help. So thank you for that. And as always, if you're liking the video, if you find it helpful, if you give me a thumbs up, that helps me out a ton too. And it just takes you one little mouse click like that. So, all right, let me boogie back down and we'll pick it up at the intersection with the Espinosa and head up to Los Pinos. Coming down from Corte Madera, we're back at that big intersection where we were earlier. And if you just want to end the hike and do Corte Madera, you can just go right back down the Espinosa Trail. But I'll show you how to go up to Los Pinos as well if you have the energy. Now, you can take this fire break road up there. It's really not too much fun. I don't recommend it. What's a little bit easier or more pleasant is just to take the dirt road, Los Pinos Road, which is up here, kind of straight across. We're just not going to cross the fence, but we're going to go up this road. And it's the typical fire road. It's going to wind around. You're going to get some great views off to the right over to Corte Madera, where we just were. You can really see how they say it's the Half Dome of San Diego. I mean, it looks very similar. Obviously, it's not as big, not as smooth, not as massive as Half Dome, but there it is. All right, as I huff and puff my way up here, I just wanted to mention that we're going to Los Pinos Mountain right now, which has a fire tower on it. Don't get confused because there's also a Los Pinos Peak, which is north of here up towards Saddleback Mountain, but probably closer to Los Angeles than it is to San Diego. So if you're searching for it, this one's mountain, the other one's peak. I have a guide to hike Los Pinos Peak as well. Just search for Hiking Guy, Los Pinos Peak, and you can do the other hike. But otherwise, let me keep on huffing and puffing, and I'll show you the fire tower. All right, so once we get up to the big intersection, we're going to make the left. We're going to make the left here. This is all pretty straightforward, really easy to follow. These are just big fire roads here. As we continue up, you're going to see a lot more of the Coulter pines. Really, really beautiful. I'm glad there are still some up here. They haven't all been logged away. And you'll also see some of the roads and other trails joining in from the left, including that shortcut that I mentioned earlier up at the utility trail. We're going to keep on heading uphill, and eventually we're going to come to this gate, which is an intersection with the road. Now, you can drive here. I've seen people drive up here and park on the side of the road, basically not from the way we came, but from the other way. It's generally paved. You can see it's sort of paved here. But they just drive up and walk up to the fire tower, but it's all good. Now here's the gate, the final gate to the fire tower. It's open to us hikers on foot, but you can't drive your car up here. Now past the gate, it's just a couple minutes, and then we're up at the top, and there's the fire tower and this antenna farm complex here. Little summit sign. I don't know why it wasn't open. I've been here before, and it's been open. But this is supposed to be the oldest continuously operated fire tower location. There's been one here since 1925, and they built the structure you're seeing now in 1964. But even if you can't go to the top, there's obviously some great views, including the views back over to Corte Madera. A little bit different than the way we saw it before. You can kind of see the face there and the cracks in it. Really impressive, really, really beautiful. So that's it, folks. Once you're up at the top here, you just go back down to that junction and go back down the Espinosa Trail to the beginning, and that is the hike. Now, if you found the video helpful, if you could do me a favor and click that little thumbs up, I appreciate it. And if you want to get these turn-by-turn directions or bring them with you on the hike, just search for Hiking Guy Corte Madera. I have a corresponding guide on my website that you can save to your phone or print out and get the turn-by-turn directions there too. And if you want to do another cool hike that's similar to this one in the San Diego backcountry, I highly recommend Three Sisters Falls to Eagle Peak, which is another really cool mountain summit, similar to Corte Madera. It's got like a raptor nesting area there, but really cool summit. I'll put a link to that up on the screen now if you want to check that out too. All right, until next time, I'll see you out in the trails.